Here are two examples of the urban legend known as the dead boyfriend. Example 1. A girl and her boyfriend are making out in their car. They had parked their car in the woods so no one could see them. When they were done, the boy got out of the car to pee while the girl waited in the safety of the car for him. After waiting 5 minutes, the girl got out of the car to go and look for her boyfriend. Suddenly, she sees a man in the shadows of the trees. Scared, she goes back to the car to drive to safety. When she hears a faint squeak, squeak, squeak. This continued for a few seconds until the girl had no choice but to drive off. She hits the gas as hard as possible, but couldn't go anywhere, because someone had tied the bumper of the car to a nearby tree. Well, the girl slams on the gas again and hears a very loud scream. She gets out of the car and realized her boyfriend is hanging from the tree. The squeaky noises came from the boyfriend's shoes scraping across the roof of the car. Example 2. Here's a story my mum told me and my friends when we were about 7 years old. As you can imagine, we were terrified. A woman and her boyfriend were on their way home from somewhere one night, and suddenly, his car ran out of gas. It was about 1 in the morning as was completely in the middle of nowhere. The guy stepped out of his car and said to his girlfriend comfortably to his girlfriend, "Don't worry, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go out for some help. Lock the doors, though." She locked the doors and sat restlessly, waiting for her boyfriend to come back. Suddenly she sees a shadow fall across her lap. She looks up to see, not her boyfriend, but a strange, crazed-looking man looking back at her. He is swinging something in his hand. He sticks his face close to the window and slowly to his right pulls up his right arm, and it was her boyfriend's decapitated head, twisted horribly in pain and shock. She shuts her eyes in horror to make the image go away. When she opens her eyes, the man is still standing there, grinning psychotically, lifting his left hand, and there in his hands was her boyfriend's car keys. The dead boyfriend is reminiscent of the Hook Man urban legend, in which a pair of loved crazed teenagers necking on Lover's Lane race off in fright after hearing a radio ad about a crazed murderer on the loose with a hook for a hand. On returning home, they discover, to their horror, a bloody hook dangling from one of the car door handles. Whereas the protagonists of the Hook escape with their lives, the present tale concludes with the boyfriend murdered and the girlfriend in fatal jeopardy. Folklorists regard both narratives as examples of cautionary tales but tend to interpret their meanings differently. The Hook is usually read as a warning against adolescent sexual activity. The dead boyfriend has been interpreted as a more generalized warning not to stray too far from the safety of home. On a literal level, a story like The Boyfriend's Death simply warns young people to avoid situations in which they may be endangered, writes folklorist Jen Harold Brunvand, but at a more symbolic level, the story reveals society's broader fears of people, especially women and the young, being alone and among strangers in the darkened world outside the security of their own home or car. Thematically, campfire stories such as these have much in common with the plot lines of modern horror movies, but there is an important difference. Typically, the villains in slasher films exhibit supernatural traits such as inhuman strength and unreliability, for example, Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, while the hook-handed madmen and crazed axe murderers of urban legend are only slightly exaggerated versions of the real-life serial killers we read about in the newspaper headlines.